Hello and welcome to Kicking Tires. My name is Jimmy,
And I'm Justin.
and today is October 6th, and we got some great news starting with Bentley. We'll get to that. It's going to be great information. Very consumer advice here. Mustang has some new trims. We want to talk a little bit about the Civic Type R Outlander. There's a PHEV version of that coming out soon. Um, the president of Jeep North America is throwing some shade over at Ford. That's going to be an interesting topic. And of course, we got the kicks review at the end. But let's talk about the most consumer review that we can talk about, or consumer product that we can talk about here. The Bentley Mulsanne, or Mulliner, not Mulsanne, sorry. This this is this is very important to me because I was looking at the Mulliner recently. I was like, this is a vehicle I want to buy, but it just doesn't come in that heritage color. But thanks to this new recognition, there's 70 years worth of design of old school Bentley coming to new Bentleys. So you can get special paints like Dove Gray, Oxford Blue, Old English. Old English is actually just white. It dates back into the 50s, but
Like
that's for
most of Bentley's consumer base. I was waiting for you to say it.
Okay.
I'm not
So
wrong. Old and white and from the 50s.
that definitely not wrong. You know what? Like now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever seen anyone else other than that demographic in a Bentley before. Yeah, no,
Pretty much. Occasional wrapper and stuff. They are cool colors. So I think this is based on the Flying Spur. Mulliner is their kind of like more coach built team. So I guess they're bringing back these cool colors. I don't mind it. I thought you could get a Bentley in any color you wanted
well,
anyways.
that's what I
So I
thought.
don't get why this is news, but now I guess it's like production colors now.
I guess so. It's not like a because that's exactly what I thought.
Production but Mulliner exclusive. It's like the BMW individual stuff. Like you could technically pay BMW to paint your car any color, but then they have the individual colors that kind of like you don't have
That
to pay as much.
yeah, it already has a few of those options. Something that's kind of cool on this because Bentley is all about saving weight. You get a little carbon fiber lip spoiler on the back because
Add weight to save weight.
it's 7,000 pounds or something like that. You need that little bit of carbon fiber just to make sure it's a little lighter. Um, I do like the blacked out B on the front. That looks really cool. I hope that's lit, illuminated at night, because that would really finish off the vehicle. I hate blacked out wheels. It's giving us blacked out wheels. It just looks. I don't like it. That's my opinion, but it is what it is. Some heritage
It's
paint
weird because
options.
all the paints are very like 50 shades of gray. Like the
Yeah,
yeah, like they're not that unique
the
of yeah.
I'm guessing the Oxford blue would be kind of cool, but I mean, there's no pictures of it, so I'm not too sure
Yeah,
exactly
I
what
don't
it
know
looks
why
like.
they would make a press release and tell, "Hey, we're going to do all these colors," and not show those colors.
Yeah, they only show the sage green
Yeah.
on the on this and the Continental, I think, the two-door convertible. This picture. Do they still call it Continental? Speed GT? I can't remember. I can't remember whatever name they call it these days. Anyways, that's enough about Bentley. No one's, that's watching this is gonna buy one. Anyways, but let's talk about Ford. So Ford Mustang. So for 2022, Mustang has a few new packages. The first one is Stealth Package. We saw the Stealth Package on the Expedition as well as the Explorer, I believe. I can't remember if it was Explorer as well, but I know the Expedition had it. Essentially, it's like a blacked out package. You can get it on the EcoBoost Premium model. You get 19-inch blacked out wheels, blacked out badges, a performance rear wing on the back, blacked out mirror caps. But the thing that's weird is the taillights. The taillights
Or
are
whiteout.
clear. They're clear LED tail lamp
I
covers.
love those taillights. It's
I,
the
I
Euro style, right? The Euro spec
yeah.
ones have that.
Well, they're Euro in terms of like it's clear, but it doesn't illuminate the same way as the Euro style does, because the Euro style
Oh.
illuminates differently than what we get. Um, because they have amber. We don't get amber. We get red.
Ah.
Yeah, it's actually a
So
little
when
different.
they're off, they look the same.
They look the
when
same.
they're on, they're
Yeah. But to me, a stealth edition with white taillights
they should
or
have blacked
clear
out taillights.
lights, it should be blacked out.
Something smoky.
Yeah, it
Kind
makes
of
more
like
sense.
the Porsche with those tinted taillights.
'Cause then
OEM tint.
it'll match with that plaque kind of Ford Mustang badge in the center, because
Yeah.
that's entirely blacked out as well. So it's kind of weird how it's clear, but it does add a little bit of contrast. But I'm sure there's aftermarket options if you really want to get that.
Yeah,
blacked
I
out.
mean, everyone on the Mustang group does these type of mods anyways, blacking out their badges, blacking out, like going crazy with Plasti Dip and whatever else kind of final wrap they can get their hands on.
Yeah,
So I guess Mustang, well, Ford's just like, we'll just offer it from the factory. Those taillights are popular. The tends typically Mustang owners though, they usually tint their lights to work less.
exactly.
So Ford, yeah, they might have missed the mark on that taillight there.
But maybe they're like, hey, you know what? We got to leave them with something. You know,
Yeah.
if we don't leave them with
They
something
still
to
got to
do,
tinker with it.
yeah, then all they're gonna do is just running into pedestrians. This at least they have something to do before they run into pedestrians. Other than the stealth package, there's also a California special. Okay, so let me first off by saying on their press page, they have two separate sections, one for the stealth edition, one for the California edition. If you looked at it, you wouldn't see
It's the same color.
any difference. It's the exact same. Like, why?
One has red taillights.
Oh, I'm sorry. The only distinction is red tail lights. That's so special. But the California edition, it's based on the GT package, so you get the 5-liter V8 on there, not the EcoBoost. I'm not sure if you can get it on the EcoBoost, but you can get it with the performance pack, of course. So you get the 6-piston Brembo brakes, the sportier chassis setup with heavier front springs, bigger rear sway, and all that good stuff. I mean, it's fine, I guess. Oh, you can also get stripes for it. I recall there was a stripe package.
Yeah, and my least favorite thing about California specials, and they've been doing this for a while, is that fake rear fender scoop. It doesn't go
Oh,
anywhere, but that is kind of what has
that's
always distinguished the California special.
that reminds me of, is it SN95 Mustang? Yeah,
They all have it.
yeah,
The
but
new Edge or New Era Mustang.
the I think it's the SN95. I think that's the chassis code for it. That's what it kind of reminds me of. It's kind of weird, actually.
Yeah, they kept it. So SN95, I guess the facelift one is still called an SN95. So 94 up to about 04, I think. They the newer ones, the new era, I think it's called.
Yeah,
New era SN95.
the updated one
Um,
has that exact scoop.
New Edge.
Oh,
Sorry.
New Edge.
New Edge has that from factory, and they all had it, like a V6. They all had the fake scoop. And I mean, even the 65 had something like that, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
I mean,
so
okay, let me just say, it doesn't look bad, right? It looks like a Mustang with a few dressing bits on it. Being a California special, being a special edition, sooner or later it'll be worth a little bit more money than your standard GT. That's really what it comes down to.
I hope that's not why people are buying it, because it's not much of an investment there.
So many people are buying cars left, right, and center because it's a special edition.
Yeah, but the California special is just
it's only a little bit special, kind of like the stealth model. It's not like a Roush Mustang. It's not going to give you that,
or
even
a Bullet. Like a Bullet's got more to it. This is just
Bullet would definitely get more as well. Yeah.
So mild chassis upgrades, but it's stuff that you got with the performance package anyways, so
Right.
it's more
You
of
just
an appearance
a
package.
little bit of styling bits and pieces. I mean, if you really like that scoop on the side, you're like, hey, I can't live with my Mustang without a scoop. That goes to nowhere. And you don't want a Mustang badge on the back. You want GT/CS on the back. California Special. That's where it's at.
Mm.
Though, what do you think of the wheels? They kind of remind me of that old school, like 5-spoke rotary, not rotary, 5-spoke like Mustang wheel.
Torque thrust,
Yeah,
kind of like
and
a
it has
American
that
racing.
chrome lip around it too. So like
It's classy. I think this is not a bad touch. Like it looks
yeah,
kind of modern retro.
and
No complaints there.
I think they're 20s as
I
well.
think it looks better than the
Oh no,
Bullet wheels.
19s.
I saw a Bullet today in Vancouver, and I thought the wheels look a little bit small on that one.
Hmm.
Um, at least the S550 but that one they painted them black, so I
Hmm.
think that's why that one was even more of the classic look. This one is a little bit more new school,
Yeah,
but it's the same twist kind of.
yeah. I wonder if you can get the Recaro still for the California Special, because
I
those
feel like
seats,
that's the way it comes.
hmm, these seats, like I've sat in the Mustang this generation when it came out with the Recaros, and then also the base model. And these are basically the base seats, like how they're contoured. They don't grip you as well. But I do remember with like the luxury package or something like that, you get cooled seats on them, which was kind of nice.
Mm.
But the Recaros, they're just so much better. When I'm looking, if like I'm looking at a performance car, those Recaros, I mean, it's kind of where it's
Yeah,
at.
I mean they're not looking to push this as any kind of track vehicle. It's like a sporty
Mm.
street cruiser with an automatic transmission. So it's kind of it's kind of California special in that sense.
Yeah, it's a cruiser. It's a
Yeah.
cruiser. Yeah. Well, moving from that, we got the next Civic Type R. At least
Mm.
they're doing some testing at the Nuremberg Ring with it. So the new Civic Type R, just like the 10th gen, yeah, the 10th gen Civic Type R is based on the hatchback.
Mhm.
Looks wise, I mean, we don't see much. It's cameled over, but we can see that there's wider fenders up front. It looks like there's wider fenders in the rear.
Oh, definitely.
It looks like it has that haunch. Um, it's hard to tell if that front bumper is like super aggressive, like the current Civic Type R's. Because if we think about the Civics right now, that front bumper is like just bland, right? Even on the coupe, it
Yeah.
doesn't have the swoops and the scoops and all that stuff that the Civic hatchback had on the 10th gen. So it's hard to see exactly what they have done here for
I
the
think there's definitely
inlets.
a fake vent just below the headlight, kind of like the 10th gen.
It
Uh,
looks that way with that cutout,
yeah. And I
but
mean, that's how the 10th gen was. Like the 10th gen, they had a vent there, but they blocked it off, especially when they did Honda Sensing.
hmm,
Um, so I think it will be about the same. They're not going to kill off Honda Sensing. They're
no,
still going to put stuff there. So it
yeah,
looks cleaner. I think the look is clean.
yeah. The
I
exhaust. Oh, sorry. Go
yeah
ahead. The exhaust. It's the other way around. Instead of two
yeah.
big ones on the outside and small one in the center, it's now big one in the center, small one is on the outside.
I don't know if that's more proportional. I think so.
I think it looks a little bit better.
I think overall I like this look. You know, the funny thing is whenever a new one comes out and then people start critiquing it and they're like, "Oh, now the 10th gen values are going to go up." Like, no they're not. Like the 10th gen prices are as inflated as they'll get for at least the next decade, I think. Um, but I really like this look because
I-
we didn't like the hatchback. We were just talking about it like 2 episodes back
yeah,
that the hatchback in this generation just I don't know. There's something missing about it, but I think the more aggressive wing, which somehow with exposed wing stands, it
yeah.
looks less. Uh, I don't know how you
It
say it.
it
It
looks
looks
less. To me, it looks less OEM, like less Type R, because
it,
Type
it
R is.
looks less wild compared to the current one, actually, even though it's exposed like this.
but like all Type R wings has always been like integrated. Like it's just one piece. Well, not really one
Mhm.
piece, but it looks like a single piece. But with this exposed hardware, I really, really like it.
Yeah, I
And
dig it too.
and it's super thin. You can see that the top of the wing itself, it's quite thin. So it shouldn't restrict like rear visibility all that
Yeah.
much. Like
And I'm excited for what that might mean for the aftermarket. Like if they can use those stands but give you a bigger foil,
mm,
cool stuff like that. And I think the wider rear fenders, it's a subtle touch, not like the current one where they just slap on a plastic fender that doesn't look like it really belongs. Like as much as we like the 10th gen Type R, it's not. There's nothing clean about the way that car looks.
yeah.
And some people like that. They think it looks like a Gundam, what have you. I think this one looks proper. I really like this 11th gen so far with what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it has a lot of potential. I don't think it's just gonna drive up 10th gen prices. Like I
I don't
highly
think so
doubt it.
neither.
Yeah.
When the 11th gen came out, it's all about growing up. The Civic is growing up. I actually have the 2022 Civic sedan as a press vehicle this weekend. Yeah, it's a more grown up car. You get inside, it's not like how it was before. You look at it, it's a more mature look. And I think they're moving that to the Civic Type R. Like the current Civic, the biggest problem for I wouldn't say a lot of people, but some of the maybe slightly older audience that was looking at Type R, it just didn't look like a vehicle that you can get out in a suit. You know, you get out of that car, you're wearing, you know, shorts that's halfway down your rear end. You kind of look. It just
Yeah.
it's that kind of boy
It's a
racer.
sweatpants, track
It
pants kind of
yeah,
car.
it just doesn't have that feel. That's why I actually really like the Civic Type R. I think it's called the LE edition. That we don't get here in North America, which had like more sound deadening, doesn't have that rear wing. To me, it was a more grown up version, and I was like, that's perfect. But this, I think it's going the exact same direction.
Yeah, I like what they've done. It's just because it costs money to mold fenders like that.
Mhm,
So they're definitely investing more into it than the plastic slap-on fenders
mhm.
that we had on the old one. And yeah, it just looks like more of a premium product to me.
Yeah, and you can still see the diffuser on the back. You can still see like the front, by the front fender, right behind the wheel. There's still a vent there. Still has the skirts on the bottom, so it's still gonna look very Type R. But I'm really hoping that it's gonna be more grown up with less fake vents. Something that even if you're a little bit older, you don't mind. You don't mind, going to a car park and it just looking absolutely ridiculous in it.
Yeah.
But something that's for the grown-ups, I guess. The Mitsubishi Outlander. So the Outlander is for 2020, I think, or 2021. I
21.
forgot. 21? Yeah, I think it's 21. For 21, it's basically a Nissan Rogue. Outlander or Mitsubishi and Nissan, they have a partnership. So the new Outlander is completely based on the Rogue, and that's not a bad thing. The new Rogue is a lot better than the old one. Premium interior materials, very, very elegant exterior. Same thing with the Outlander. Some might not like the look on the front end because it's really in your face. I don't mind it. I think it's a good looking vehicle overall. But when I did the Rogue review, I said that the only thing that's missing is an updated power plant. It needed some sort of hybrid to be really competitive compared to the RAV4, which is the sales leader. And well, for 2022, we are going to get a plug-in hybrid version of the Outlander. So it's going to compete against the RAV4 Prime. But what we know so far, there's not a lot of details, but what we know so far is it's going to retain the third row. The current Outlander plug-in hybrid, you can only get it as a two-row, and it was very lacking in power, and it was also very lacking in range. So Mitsubishi have said that it's going to keep the third row. It's going to have more power. There's going to be a motor in the front, motor in the rear, and it's going to have more range. I think it's going to be like something that a lot of people are going to be looking at, especially with the looks. the range, everything that Mitsubishi has, and they have a really good warranty as well.
10-year powertrain warranty.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's interesting. And if you're in the market for an SUV, this is going to come in second half of 2022. It's definitely
Yeah,
something to
get your
consider.
orders in now is
There's also that.
probably because they've only been delayed. Like the RAV4 Primes have been delayed and delayed and delayed, and it's just the wait list is over a year long now.
It's almost 2 years right now.
Yeah, and so if the smart money is going to move to the Outlander, I think
Mhm.
it's a more practical, it's a bigger car, and it's a more premium feeling car, despite Mitsubishi kind of being a second tier brand in a sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, a lot of potential there. I mean, the old Outlander PHEV still sold. Those are the only ones I really saw. I'm like, I don't really, you don't really see too many of the previous generation Outlander
Well,
near the tail end of that generation.
they do
Um,
really well because it's the best. They claim it's the best selling plug-in hybrid SUV.
yeah, because it
And
was the only one for such a long time. Yeah, but I get it.
it there's the biggest problem with the current Outlander is just power. If you run it on full electric, it was pretty gutless. And the interior wasn't updated. Like there's a lot of things that wasn't like the greatest. But they had like a lot of the combination that did work. So like overall, it was cheap. It was dirt cheap for a plug-in hybrid. Like you can it's the same price as I think like the RAV4 hybrid, and you get just more room on the inside as well. So like it was dirt cheap, lease
Yeah,
and finance rates were low as well. There's a lot of things going for it, but with this one, it's even more. I can see this being better than the RAV4 in terms of sales. PHEV,
ooh.
PHEV wise.
Oh,
So
PHEV versus Prime.
yeah,
Yeah, no. That
because
that's possible.
I mean, there's still going to be tons of people buying a RAV4 hybrid because of the lower introductory price point. Just
Yeah.
going,
This
just
is
going
still
to.
it's still going to be 10,000 more than your basic LE or XLE RAV4 hybrid.
Yeah,
Um but it is, yeah, it's a much bigger, more premium feeling car. So
yeah.
um
This is coming from a guy that owns a RAV4 as well.
yeah, I'm not really in the market for the plug-in, and I never really I considered the Prime for all of like 30 seconds, but I think the hybrid is more for me. I don't know. I think more manufacturers need to jump on this, but I don't know if that's really even an option at this point.
No,
Um,
I don't
there's
like
such a shortage too.
there
It
is.
sucks. Like
And PHEVs like they're fundamentally flawed, right? Because they have an internal combustion engine, they have bigger electrical motors, they have to carry a gas tank as well as a bigger battery pack.
yeah,
Like it has every single thing that you have for the internal combustion side as well as a full EV. Because of that, it's heavier, it's slower, it's more expensive to
smaller.
produce. Yeah, like there's just nothing really that's on it that says it's a great combination. Hybrids make sense because the battery pack is a lot smaller. The motor, it's a lot smaller. It doesn't have to carry the entire weight of the vehicle. So I don't think we're going to see a lot more plug-in electric vehicles, but the ones that are available, I'm super
Mhm.
interested in them because
Yeah, well, and especially this generation Outlander is just such a winner overall. But
yeah,
I think having that, hopefully, a little bit more torque, I think that's gonna do this car real good.
hmm
Um, we're already seeing like pretty decent sales figures despite the shortage for the current generation. So yeah, lot of potential there. I don't know if you think Nissan's gonna do one too.
I would think so because like I mean they are partners, right? If they're
Hmm.
going to do one for the Outlander, it makes sense for Nissan to do one as well.
Hmm.
But Nissan's going to do it the same way. It's going to be basically the same price, but except it's going to be only for 5 passenger, whereas the Outlander has 7.
Yeah, and I think the Outlander physically is a little bit longer,
Just a little bit, yeah.
right? So I don't know if that changes anything in terms of packaging space for the batteries. Maybe they intended that to be Mitsubishi's all along, because Mitsubishi's been at the electric game for a while now. Um,
The-
not bad products either. I think just
their full electric vehicle, the
I
iMIF,
mean,
that that wasn't bad.
I mean, for 15 years ago, it was
Okay,
pretty groundbreaking stuff.
yeah, okay, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
Being a
it's just
ground up full electric vehicle rather than most manufacturers developing something and then putting electrical components in it. Yeah, you're not
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. I mean, it was 12 years, 12, 13 years ago. So yeah, no one else was really doing it at that scale, even.
Hmm.
Um, so I think yeah, Mitsubishi so far been okay with their electric stuff, and I think they're trying to move to that direction. They've always been an engineering company first,
Yeah.
right? So I'm thinking maybe they want to keep their engineering for their own model here. That's why maybe Nissan may not get it.
Mm.
And yeah, who
Yeah,
knows?
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Nissan does have pretty good electrical components as well. I
Right,
mean,
the Leaf.
the Leaf is pretty good. It's one of the best selling EVs. But they don't really have any hybrids anymore. I don't
No, yeah.
think because they had the
It's
Ultima
only
Leaf.
the Leaf. Like yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about slightly more controversial topic.
Mm.
So Jim Morrison, which is the head of Jeep in North America, he quote, "I actually feel sorry for customers that got tricked," and he's basically talking about the Ford Explorer Timberline edition, which is Ford Explorer's kind of like not really off road, but like more overlanding.
Yeah, it's the Outback Wilderness. It's
Yeah,
it's not that hardcore of a SUV.
yeah. Continuing on with the quote, he says, "You can paint a tow hook red. It doesn't mean that behind the tow hook it would even hold up in the right moment that it needs to." So he's basically saying that, hey, if you want an SUV, the one that can actually go off road, buy a Jeep Grand Cherokee Trailhawk Edition.
Yeah, he's saying that these manufacturers are putting out these off-roady style packages, and it's all show no go. Like if you're saying that a tow hook can't even hold, like that is like a big assumption, and you should be able to back that up. And I don't think they really can, because I mean it's a tow hook. It's not that revolutionary of a of an engineering challenge for auto manufacturers. Tow hooks have been around on anything. I see a Civic outside that has a tow hook. Like everything has recovery hooks. Um, so it's weird. I think it's a publicity stunt for him to be calling out. It seems like they're pointing out Ford specifically, but I think a lot of manufacturers are jumping on this. Uh, Subaru, obviously,
Yeah.
um, even TRD, some of their lower trims, not the TRD Pros, but some of the, I talk about it sometimes that TRD will slap their badge on just about anything these days. Um, who else does kind of fake off-roady packages?
Hyundai has one for their Santa Fe. They call it the XRT model. That one, like, I gotta be honest, that one's really bad.
The
There's no
HPD, the
oh
Ridgeline HPD,
HVD.
that's one of those as well. It's
Oh,
like
the Passport, the
Trail Sport.
Trail Sport. Yes, that's what I call it. Yeah.
Yeah, but specifically the Explorer Timberline, I feel like is the wrong car to be pointing fingers at, because that car, it's got some legitimate chops to it. It may not be trail rated. Like I'm not taking that to Moab, but it's got like decent engineering behind it too. I think it's not an aggressive lift. It's not crazy sized tires. It doesn't have the almost a foot of ground clearance that the Grand Cherokee Trailhawk can have with
Mhm,
air suspension, but it's also not air suspension money, right?
mhm.
Like it is what it is. It's kind of a light duty car, but it's got improved off road credentials, like a limited slip, like skid plates, real skid plates, um, and a slight lift and slightly bigger tires and all that stuff. And ultimately, the Grand Cherokee is so expensive that Jeep. We talked about it last week when we were talking about the Grand Cherokee. Is that they compared to their best in class. Blah blah. We're the best in class off road, but they consider them to be in the same class as the Explorer. For one, the Explorer is like a legitimate 3-row SUV, whereas the Grand Cherokee is not. A Grand
No,
Cherokee L might be,
yeah.
but the Grand Cherokee is not.
So that's the funny part, right? So they're comparing their Grand Cherokee, which comes in this Trailhawk model, but their Grand Cherokee L doesn't. Their Grand Cherokee L comes in Limited, Overland, Summit, and Summit Reserve. There's no Trailhawk model for that. Like, it doesn't really make sense that they're comparing their 2-row to their Explorer's 3-row.
Yeah, it's a bigger car. Ultimately, it will not do as well off road. That alone is, you know, it's no comparison really.
Mhm.
Um, and I think when we see the actual pricing, we will see why. There's going to be between okay, so even in Canada, the Timberline model of the Explorer is only $50,000. It's not a lot of money for a 3-row SUV.
No.
Um, the Grand Cherokee for a 2-row SUV, likely when we see the Trailhawk models coming through, they're going to be over 60 for sure. Um, and it's not the first time Jeep or Jim Morrison is pointing fingers at Ford. He was also throwing shade at the Bronco for having roof issues. Which okay, the Bronco's been around for 6 months, maybe not even, probably not even. Um, came out this summer, so it hasn't even been half a year. And okay, there's some roof issues. It's the first batch. Wranglers had roof issues since day one with the Freedom Top. And they not only had it through the JK generation, they had it on the JL generation. If you Google JL Freedom Top leak, like, why is Jeep throwing shade at someone for like it's the pot calling the kettle black? You've had 2 generations to get this right, and you still can't. And you're gonna throw shade at someone for their first few months of a product having an issue. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't
kind of
feel like
nuts.
it
I
doesn't feel
can't
like
respect them.
it doesn't feel like it's directed correctly. This kind of not hatred, but like this shade that they're
Yeah,
throwing.
it's just shade.
Um, I'm actually trying to find if the Grand Cherokee L is actually trail rated. I think I see a badge on the front fender, but it's hard for me to
I
see.
think it is the Grand Wagoneer was not, or something like that.
Right,
Um,
but like I'm
no
on.
one's really and I guess that's the other thing we have to talk about is that where where are people taking their 3-row family SUV with the little off-road package too, right? It's going to campsites. It's going, I'm taking my family kayaking. We're gonna go on a boating
Oh,
trip. We're gonna go hiking. It's stuff
obviously,
like that, right?
obviously, I'm gonna go Moab.
Yeah, like
Thing.
they talk about like, oh, you can't climb this desert mountain that we could in the Grand Cherokee. Like, okay, but that's not how people use these vehicles. Like, that's not the intention either to begin with.
If they
So
want to do that, they'll be buying your Wrangler, not the Grand Cherokee.
exactly. So
Yeah.
there's a tool for each purpose. And while the Grand Cherokee does have a really nice interior,
Mhm.
and can still go off road. It's not they're not directly competing products. So saying that your vehicle is better at this extreme performance doesn't mean anything. It's like I don't know. Like if we want to talk sports cars, it's like I don't know if Chevy was like, oh, the BRZs they're garbage. Like our Camaro ZL1 1LE is way better of a performance car. You're lucky to see 200 kilometers on the front straight of whatever track in a BRZ. Like that's not it's not how it's you're different price, different target, different everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But gotta admit, I really like the Grand Cherokee.
I know. I as much as like we talk about how much I want this card last week, but at the same time, I don't trust them to even build a good car either. So
I mean,
we'll see how it goes.
if you get the Pentastar, at least the engine will be good.
I'm not worried about the engine. I mean, the engine is controlled by the electronics. So the engine may not throw a rod, but I may not be able to start it when I'm out in the Moab because my screen decided to act up or my shifter does not want to work.
It's okay. Just take the battery connector off for 10 seconds. It just does a
Yeah,
little
blow on it
reset.
a little bit. Yeah,
Then you're
stuff like
okay.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't think this, you know, I don't think he's in the right when he's talking about this. Like the Timberland edition, it has its purpose, and for a lot of people, that's all you really need. Because a lot of people are just taking these SUVs, like you said, to campsites, and they're just going through this like maybe like a little bit of off-road trail, not even like off-road. It's like dirt trail, if
Yeah.
anything. And that's
And it's
really
those
what.
situations where you probably wouldn't get stuck if you had the normal model, but you're a little bit more comfortable with the
you
Timberline.
you wouldn't get stuck in an all-wheel drive Sienna. You won't get stuck with a front-wheel drive Sienna. Like that's really what it comes down to.
Oh, well, Raymond would have something to say about that. He went camping recently. Raymond's my business partner. He went camping up in Squamish recently and took his front wheel drive Sienna SE
Yeah.
and got stuck somewhere.
Oh no.
Or well, didn't get stuck, but couldn't make it up a certain hill when other trucks and SUVs could.
Mm.
So it was lacking a little bit, but partially due to tires and
I was
everything.
gonna say, I
Yeah,
think he needs some like some good old
AT
AT
tires.
tires. Yeah. Small lift AT tires.
We're just
That's all you
looking
need.
at it today. You can put a 3-inch lift. Ian from Cobb Tuning,
Yeah.
he has a Sienna lifted with a 3.5-inch lift with
Oh,
some 29.5-inch tires on it. So it looks
the
pretty good.
the current gen Sienna or the last gen Sienna?
Last gen.
Okay.
They do the same company does also make a lift for the current gen, the hybrid Sienna. That's also
Mm.
about 3 inches. So
And you can get all-wheel drive in that.
yeah. So
Hmm.
maybe
So
that's the way to
that's
go.
that's the way to go. Yeah. So kicking tires tip. If you need a vehicle that can go camping, buy the
That
current
will
gen.
fill 90% of people's off-roading needs. Just get a Sienna hybrid. Like you don't need a trail rated SUV. You don't need a you don't need a sports car that's been tested on a Nürburgring. You don't need a trail rated SUV.
But can I go to Overdrive and get some tow hooks installed? Because
Absolutely. And I'll even paint them red.
perfect. I That's exactly what I need. I need to make sure that it looks tough. I'll probably never use them, but I just want to make sure it looks
Yeah.
tough.
Just take the factory screw in eyelet and then
Yeah,
paint that red. Close enough.
that's all you need. And that leads us nicely to the last review section. That's the past week, not past week, this or past week I posted, I should say, the Nissan Kicks review. So we actually talked about the Kicks off air a little while ago, and we both actually really, really like the Kicks. It's the vehicle for everyone. Like if
Yeah.
you are carrying 4 people, like that's all you're carrying, the Kicks is amazing. There's so much space for the people inside. There's so much space in the back for everything that they need. Don't really need all-wheel drive. We live in Vancouver here. Yes, it snows. You don't need all-wheel drive. You just get good snow tires and you're good to go. It's an
Well, you
amazing.
know what? Jim Morrison would tell you that their Cherokee, you call that a crossover? Our Cherokee or our Compass or
Compass.
Renegade Trailhawk can climb blah 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 mountain way better than this so-called crossover. Yeah. You know
I,
that you know
I
that meme of the guy at the like Olympics and like he's got like the bronze and he's like giving the middle finger to like second and
yeah.
first, holding his medal in his mouth. That's Jim Morrison at Jeep.
I I would love to see him in the comment section of this video just to let us know, just to let us know our place. Maybe someone can forward this to him. But the little kicks, it's such a great little car. 1.6 liter 4-cylinder. There's no all-wheel drive. All that is CVT to the front wheels. 125, the mightiest horsepower. Like 0 to 60 is like 10 seconds, but
Nice.
it's all you need because like at low speeds, going 0 to 50 kilometers per hour, about 25 miles per hour, it's fine. It keeps up with traffic.
How is it on the highway though?
Highway's a little loud. It's not.
Merging on the highway and stuff like that.
You floor it and it's fine. It's fine. I wouldn't say like it was scary, because there has been cars that's scary when you're merging on the highway. This isn't
I've
scary.
owned a few. The Prius C and the Scion IQ were absolutely terrifying to merge on the highway with. Like those cars are so slow, and I had a series of cars that I commuted to SFU. Smart 42 with 40 horsepower.
Oh yeah, you had
Diesel.
the diesel one.
I
Yeah.
had a diesel. These cars were all terrifying, and I commuted an hour to SFU and had to go on Highway 1 in these. And Highway 1 is like nowadays driving, normal cars, it's like no biggie. But Highway 1, you have 18 wheelers going 120, and it's just like, yeah,
It's a little sway.
it's and you have to try to merge with your 40 to 100 horsepower car. It's a little bit sketchy. I think 120 and up horsepower, then you're kind of doing okay.
115 pound-feet of torque.
Mm.
It's all at the top end as
Triple
well.
digit torque. So pretty impressive stuff.
Like, I mean, this, as I have here, this is the SR with premium package. It's 25,000 Canadian. It's super inexpensive, super affordable for everyone. Like, look at those seats. The seats are like
They
they're
look so
sculpted. It
comfortable.
looks comfortable, and they were comfortable too. Like it's
And it's
such
just
a good
the right
product.
size. Like again, it will fit. 90% of people will sit in the back seat of that very comfortably.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
you know what the best part is? This kind of replaces, like, I know they still make the Juke, but in Canada, like, that's what we had to choose from Nissan.
Yeah.
5-10 years ago was the Juke. And like what a long way we've come. This is cheaper, it's way more practical. Doesn't have a turbo option yet. But I think for the money and the features that you get and everything about this car is so solid.
Absolutely. I mean, they killed out the Versa Note. I actually really like the Versa Note. I like the styling of it. But for this, like it just makes more sense. There's more headroom everywhere.
Yeah, I wish they would kill off the Versa too. I don't know.
Yeah, they still have the Versa. So if you're looking at sedan version of the kicks, buy a Versa. I kind of wish they put a Nismo version. Like I'm a big sucker for
Oh, the Nismo
the Nismo,
SR.
the body kit that they put on. I'm not asking for more power. I'm just looking for the Nismo look because I'm a sucker for the Nismo front bumper. It's just really good looking. I kind of wish they had that, but yeah, like 25 grand. Like if you get the lower end trim, which you should, you're looking at 23, 24 for the SV or just a base SR without that premium package. It has everything that you need. Has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Yeah, all the
LED headlights.
LED headlights, all the airbags. Actually, I think the base model you get halogen. SR you get LEDs. So you do have to step up to SR. That's 24,000. But still, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But you get blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alert, lane departure warning. Like all that is standard, even on the base model at 20,000 Canadian dollars.
Yeah, 20,000 in today's dollars for a new car with a full warranty and hopefully some financing options that are semi-attractive is not a lot of money.
Yeah, it's
really
1.5% right now for Nissan finance rate.
That's awesome. And it's just like with how expensive used cars are, I think when you and I first got our license, like you would only really consider getting a used car.
Oh yeah.
And nowadays with financing and the hyperinflation that we've seen with used cars, this is the way to go, because chances are if you're looking at kind of an entry level commuter A to B vehicle, if you do get a used car, you always run that risk of maybe there's a $3,000 repair around the corner.
Yeah.
Where if you get something like this, you don't have to worry about that for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I think that's something a lot of people don't consider, is like buying the cheapest vehicle you can get, even if it's a Toyota or a Honda. It doesn't matter. Like
Oh,
it stuff happens.
as a person, the first car I bought myself with my own money was a 99 Accord V6 with the
Mm,
tragic GM 4-speed automatic, which
mm.
was, it breaks like glass. And because, being young, you floor it a lot and you do a few neutral drops to impress your friends. That transmission might not live that long.
Oh
Um,
no.
but it lived for the entire 5 years I had that car, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
That had a several $1,000 repair just around the corner.
That car was on its fourth transmission from Honda.
Wolf.
The
Nice.
original owner that I bought from had because they had a lawsuit with that or not, maybe a lawsuit, anyways, had with the transmission. Honda replaced it 4 times for him because it kept slipping. It's a known problem of basically all V6 Hondas of that era. Accord, Odyssey, the TLs had it. Yeah.
Did the Saturn View redline
No, that
it?
was newer. That's 2004 and
Mm.
above. That was better. Wasn't great, but better. But yeah, the kicks, like, if you're looking for a car that takes you A to B, if you're looking for a car that can carry you and your family, 4, not 5, because giving that fifth passenger in the center and the rear, not super comfortable. This is a great vehicle. This versus the Venue from Hyundai,
Ooh.
I like the looks on the Hyundai a little bit more because to me, it has that mini-esque look to me.
Yeah, it's very quirky and charming.
Yeah. But I think some of the interior layouts on the Nissan is a little bit better. And Nissan, I mean, it just depends on where you put that scale. Some people put Nissan a little bit higher than the Hyundai badge, right? So there's that as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. Just don't buy a CHR,
Oh, well, I mean, a CHR is more expensive too.
but it's the
I think.
exact same class.
Yeah, and
And
really
it's,
claustrophobic. Like it's
yeah,
so dark inside.
it's, yeah, this don't buy a CHR.
It's a very sad car. Like I've driven it before, and it's not that it's actually like decently roomy too, but it's so cheap. Like you really like just don't look at any other cars. That's the car that you get. If you don't even want to consider the competition. That's the car you get.
That's it's a CHR is the one that you go into a Toyota showroom and they're like, hey, we're out of Corollas right now.
Mm.
Here's something that's basically the same.
And for some reason, people always walk out with the one with hubcaps. They're giant hubcaps too. Like they're not even like small, like 15-inch. I think they're like, I don't know,
Six
CHR.
17s maybe.
It might even be 17s, but they're yeah,
Well,
they're 17-inch hubcaps.
Tesla's Model 3s are walking out with 18-inch hubcaps. So
Well, those are they look a bit more normal. These ones you can tell, you can see the steel wheel underneath, the 17-inch steel wheel that's underneath. I don't know why they decided to go with a 17-inch hubcap, but it's almost as weird as GM's the Chevy Uplander, which is that
oh,
weird crossover, not crossover, MPV looking thing.
yeah, the
That
three
thing had
row.
18-inch hubcaps.
Ooh,
like like why 18-inch steel wheels and hubcaps like that? Yeah.
I actually really like not the Uplander, but I like that segment.
Yeah, like a Kia Rondo.
Kia Rondo Mazda 5. That segment makes sense to me. Like it's just a more practical vehicle, but it's not like a full-on SUV.
The problem with those, I find, is if you need to carry a stroller, then you either choose between having a trunk or having the third row.
Yeah,
You can't really have both. And then if you can't have both, then what's the difference with something like a Kicks?
Yeah, not wrong. I think what it is like it is more spacious than the kicks
Hmm.
on the inside because I mean the kicks is the upset like a exception here because it
It's a
doesn't have
subcompact.
it is a subcompact and it doesn't have the all-wheel drive like mechanical bits and pieces underneath. So the trunk floor is actually relatively deep. So it's a
Hmm.
little different. But a lot of these SUVs they have higher trunk floors because of all-wheel drive and all that stuff, right? Whereas the Rondo, the Mazda 5 didn't have that.
Like a
So the
Jeep
seats,
Renegade.
so the seats can like fold completely flat in the floor, so they don't take up that much space.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that's really it for this week. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, I think that just about covers it.
Fantastic. Well, we will see everyone next week with some more amazing automotive news. And I think that's really it. Thanks everyone for listening in. Take care.